What's up, guys? This is our 580 ZR EFI. It's a 1996-1997 model, and it's been sitting for quite a while. We didn't use it a whole lot last winter, but long story short, when we first acquired it, it needed a stator. Obviously, I stator tested it with an ohm meter and confirmed that it was gone. So we replaced the stator and magneto in the sled not too long ago, and back when the stator originally messed up, the sled would start and run great. It'd start easy, but it just would not let you rev it any more than like 4,500 RPM. It would basically just barely move itself around the yard. Now it's developed an issue where it doesn't want to take full throttle. I can run it about half throttle. Anything more, it just wants to fall on its face, which is strange because it's a low mileage sled. There's only like 3,600, 3,700 kilometers onto it, as you can maybe see there, maybe not, but you can take my word for it. It's very low kilometers for the year. So what I just did, obviously I had replaced the stator once upon a time, so I just made sure it's still proper, still working. So what you want to do for your ignition coils is, if you have an EFI, you want to take this clear plug-in apart with the wires on the bottom side have like a fabric over them. They're not insulated the same as the rest of them. And between your two, you should have one set of two, you want about 450 ohms, give or take. The other one you want 45, and when you do the two outsides, it should be basically the two of them totaled together, which would give you around 500 if everything's in sync. So, and what I've learned from stators is, I tested this when it was cold, it tested good. I then ran the sled, got it warm, took it for a drive, tested it again, and the numbers do vary. So you want to basically try to do that test when it's about room temperature, but it also doesn't hurt to run it and check it when it's hot, just to make sure that it doesn't go much beyond 20%. So after concluding all that, the last drive I took it for, we hooked a good old trusty fuel pressure gauge to it. So I just put a T in the line, hooked my gauge up. My phone went dead in the process of when I was doing it, but basically when this starts and idles, it idles around 32 psi. When you start driving it, it kind of doesn't move a whole lot, but then when you start actually giving it some throttle, I had it falling back as far as 10 psi. So there's definitely a fueling issue. Now again, it's low kilometers, but it's old. I had the pump out. The pump looks super clean. So I think my next step is I'm going to pull this regulator off the end of the rail here and just see what kind of mess that's in inside there, because there's been reports of people not actually having to replace the pump, just that regulator, and voila, away they go. So I'm hoping when I open that up, I'm going to find maybe some dirt, debris, God knows what. But basically the sled had a real nasty symptom. Like if you were at 5,000 RPM and you wanted to throttle it, it would just pop and bang, backfiring. And I just went through an issue with the square body, backfiring at full throttle, and it was a fuel pump. Not saying in this case it's the fuel pump, but it's definitely a fuel delivery issue. So my next step is I'm going to pull this regulator off and see what kind of bag of worms is in there. And hopefully we'll find some dirt and debris and just be able to clean it up, and maybe this thing will come out if it's fit. Or worst case scenario, the pump is totally shot. So it's going to be one or the other. So I pulled the regulator apart. Didn't find any dirt or forbidden mysteries in there, but still not really sure if I can rule that out, because I did clean it with my air compressor, and it didn't seem to have a whole lot of holdback to it. So the regulator very well could be shot, or worst case the pump is shot, but probably just going to end up throwing both at it and be done with it. But that's where we're at. So it still doesn't want to take full throttle. We're still losing fuel pressure when we give it throttle. It's got good fuel pressure when we start.